Hi, my name is Persephone, and this is Persephone's Board Game Reviews. So, as part of my card game series, I'm going to be talking about my favorite game of all time, Race for the Galaxy. So, this game has an interesting story. It was made by Rio Grande Games, who made Puerto Rico, and they decided that after Puerto Rico became popular, they wanted to release a card game that had the same type of play. So they hired two guys to make the game, but the two guys fought so much about how the game should be made that they split apart and they made two separate games. One guy made San Juan, and the other guy, Tom Lemon, made Race for the Galaxy. I've never played San Juan. I've always wanted to, but I've been so satisfied with Race for the Galaxy that I just haven't gotten to it yet. So that kind of says something about what a good game Race for the Galaxy is. That, I've been able to control my lust for it. But so the game involves two types of cards. It has planet cards and it has development cards. And the planet cards produce goods. Well, not all of them produce goods, but a lot of them produce goods. And the goods are used to get points, which you use to win the game, or you can sell the goods and get more cards to add to your hand. And the development cards are really cool. The development cards supplement the planets, and they all have really neat art and cool titles, and they're really interesting because they're like different inventions or organizations. And if you love sci-fi, or you just love little witty insiders in games, and you're gonna love these development cards because a lot of them are pretty interesting. For example, the SETI card is the same organization that Jodie Foster was in the movie Contact, and I just kind of like that it exists. So in this game, you want to create a tableau of cards, and you use those cards to produce goods and do different things. And so in order to create a tableau, you have 9 cards in your hand, and you discard cards from your hand in order to play cards. Each card has a cost, and the cost is cards. So there's sort of an opportunity cost when you're building your tableau. You need to give up cards in order to build a tableau, and you want your tableau to work together. You want the different cards in your tableau to interact well together. So even if there's certain cards that you've fallen in love with and you just love, I certainly have cards that I hate giving them up because they're my favorite cards. You might have to do it if they don't work well with the other cards in your hand. And that's an important element of strategy in this game. And I found that it can be really rewarding to make those decisions and give up certain cards to build the perfect tableau. And as just kind of an extra special thing, I think it's cool that if you have a really good set of cards in your tableau, they tell a story and they interact really well together. All of them will be of the same type, and you can almost just make up a story. And it's beautiful. It's beautiful. It shows how well this game has been weighted and designed. The art on these cards is magnificent. A lot of these little landscapes are gorgeous, and I think Tom Lemon definitely was inspired by Star Wars when he made it, because there's so many cards that just look straight up from Star Wars, this Emperor card, for example, or this Boba Fett or Stormtrooper card. It's just come on, look at that. Or I guess this kind of looks like it's from episode 2 or episode 1 or something, but whatever. This is my deck, but it doesn't really look like the base deck because I have a lot of expansions. This game has many expansions, and eventually I might do a video about all of those expansions. But I think it's important to know that you don't need to buy any expansions to have a good gameplay experience. I've played the game about 500 times with just the base game, and I never get sick of it. It's always a very different experience. You can create so many different combinations of cards that work beautifully together, and it's great. So one thing I think is funny, though, is that the original game has this beautiful art, this well done art, But then the expansions get progressively lazier with their art. I mean, come on, that's not anywhere near the quality of the base game, but I mean, who am I to judge? One thing that you might not like about this game is that it can feel a little solitary. I have a good friend who doesn't like this game because he says that he likes turn-based games that involve trading and interacting with your opponent. In this game, you pick an action like going through the deck to get cards to add to your hand, or building a planet, like buying a planet by discarding cards and adding it to your tableau. Those are separate actions, and your opponent will pick an action, and then you both reveal your action and you do those actions together. Everybody takes their turn essentially at the same time. So he doesn't like that because it feels like a turn. It doesn't. He likes turn-based games where you get to talk and interact. But I mean, this is just a very different kind of gameplay experience. There's lots of like little subtlety. It's a really deep game. And if I want a game that has turn-based play or trading, then I'm going to play a different game. I'll play Catan if I want trading, or I'll play Bonanza if I want something that's fast-paced and a good party game, or I'll play Carcassonne if I want something that's just like turn-based and you can talk. This isn't that kind of game. It's a different gameplay experience. Race is two to 4 players. I've really only gotten to play it with 2 players most of the time. I might have played it with 3 players maybe one time, but when you play it with 3 or 4 players, you have to change the rules. And I'm not even that familiar with the rules that you use when you play with additional players. But I guess a negative of Race is that it's hard to get more than 2 players to learn how to play this game. It can be intimidating to people if they're not diehard board game fans to learn a game that seems as complex as Race is. It's not that complex, but it's a deep game and there's a lot of elements to individual cards. One nice thing is that when you're teaching people the game, a lot of the cards will have instructions on the bottom. And as long as they know what these symbols mean, all the cards tell you what they do. So even though most of the cards do different things, and that can be intimidating, as long as you know the symbol system, it's not that hard to learn this game. And there's cheat sheets for the symbols. And when you first start playing the game, I'd say it takes about an hour, 45 minutes, because you're not that familiar with what the cards do. But as you get more comfortable with the game, it's really fast-paced, and it takes about 20 to 30 minutes to complete a game, which isn't really that long when you think of, when you compare it to the lengths of other games. So my last point is that I'd like to say that even though it has similar elements of gameplay to Puerto Rico, it's much different than Puerto Rico. I don't really like Puerto Rico that much. I don't think it's very exciting. It doesn't have that fulfilling feeling that you get when you're playing a game like Catan. Like when you build a city or a settlement, you get really excited, you feel fulfilled. I don't get that feeling when I get points in Puerto Rico, but in Race I do. Race is very exciting, it's very fast, and so it's just like, it's almost like it fixes Puerto Rico, and I love it. So, I don't know. Thank you.